All right, so let's now talk about snapping tools. Snapping tools basically we are going to use when you need to have more precision. For example, if you would like to align specific geometry or specific points, faces, or edges that they align perfectly, you're not going to eyeball that. You're going to use a snap tool for that. So by default, snap tools are going to be here. And again, like I mentioned before, whenever you see this little black little icon on the bottom right, just simply means that you can click on it, hold your click, and then you can access this pop-up menu. What you can do also is you can dock this menu like so to the side, or if you also wish, you can come here to the mode, and then under modeling, you will find also the snapping tools. Basically, it's more or less the same thing with the drop down instead of the list. So it's really just a matter of preference. All right, so we can load our good friend Cube one more time because it's just going to be easiest to explain. So here, just we're going to focus on the explanation what snapping tools do, because later we're going to do that. We're going to use them much more in practical examples later. All right, so let's say we have this cube, and for some reason I would like, let's say, this axis moved to one of the points. So in many situations, this is something that we're going to do, and it's going to be very useful to move the axis around. So first of all, to move the axis around, you cannot move on your own without moving the object. So I'm just convert this to editable. And now we can go to move tool and actually move this around. So the moment I click on axis, I can move the axis around, but if I want to move the axis alone, I need to enable this axis modification. So the moment I enable that, I can now move this axis on its own. So for example, if I would need to have this axis on this specific point, it's going to be very hard to eyeball that. So whatever I move, so it's, let's say here, it's not exactly there where I want. In that case, we are going to enable snapping, and we are going to enable vertex snap, simply because we need axes to be snapped to the vertices. And again, vertices are points, edges are these lines, and the polygons is going to be this huge rectangle that is highlighted. All right, so let's say that we want to snap this to here. The only thing I need to do is take this axis, and the moment I come here close, you will see that it's going to be this little text that says cube vertex snap. That simply means that it works. And one more thing, maybe here it's worth mentioning that you can also increase the snap radius. So for now it's 10. If I increase this to something crazy like 100, you will see that this circle that I have here is going to be much larger, and that just simply means that the tolerance for snapping is going to be much higher. So maybe also something worth mentioning here. All right, so this is basically how the snapping works. Same thing would work if, for example, we want to snap it to an edge. So let's say I want to snap it to an edge. You can see that it says cube edge snap, and it's simply now snapped to the edge. There's additional option here, which is called the midpoint snap, where the same axes you can snap to the midpoint, and then you have, let's say, more precise axes if you wish. So this doesn't work only just with the axes. Of course, you can snap multiple objects together as well. So let's now exit, enable modification, and actually we need to be in the move and actually model mode. So let me do that one more time and snap this here, exit. And this is now going to be our new pivot. If we have a new cube, so let me just add a new cube. I'm going to push this aside. And let's say that I want to snap this cube to, for example, this tip to this tip right here. So basically, again, that's the reason why sometimes you are going to need to snap the axis as well, because if you want to do the snapping, it's going to look something like this or something like this. Then both of these objects are perfectly aligned in that point. And basically, yeah, this is what snapping does and how we're going to use it. So these are just different variations. So again, edge snap. What I forgot to mention, you can have also multiple values selected at the same time. So then it's just going to be a matter of which is the closest. So either edge or snap to a vertice or polygon snap. And you can see here that when it's polygon snap, it's just gonna like stick to this face. Now you then have additionally spline wrap, spline snap, which obviously will snap to splines. Then we have axes, which again is just going to snap to axes. So again, to demonstrate, we can take this cube and I'm just going to move it and it should snap here and it will say cube vertex. Actually, it should say, let me just enable the disable, and it should say axis snap if I come here like this. So cube axis snap. So that's that. Intersection basically just like says it will be, if you have multiple of edges or something, it will create an intersection and then snap there. So the principle of how it works, it's basically the same for every single operation here. Then we have a work plane snap, which just means that, I can show on this example, it will snap to the general grid. And again, it will say here grid point snap, and it's going to be aligned there if for some reason you need that. Now guide snap, this is something where you can create, let's say, sort of a guide, and it will snap to that guide. Also, for example, if we would be in the point mode and let's select something like this, because I want to see that it's not actually perfectly aligned. And let's say that you would like to align this here or push there. You can create this sort of a guide, dynamic guide, even if you just, let's say, I want to enable actually vertex snap too. You come here and you simply need to hold your mouse here for a couple of seconds. And if you undo this, you'll see that this green, this bluish sort of like cross is now here. And that just simply means that now we can use this as a dynamic guide. And also if we switch to one of the views, you can see here, okay, so now it disappeared. Let me just hold this again until this bluish thing is there. And now it should create this dynamic guide intersection. So you can see that it basically snaps there, and it should be then perfectly aligned as well. So in short, this is what snapping does. Let me just show you one more thing. Actually, let's remove all of this. And I'm just gonna skip ahead and create something first. All right, so here we have an example. This is a spline, this is a cube, and I would like to align this spline in the middle and then create, let's say, cuts all around using these edges. And we're gonna use this simply by using snap tools. So snap, we need to enable snap. Auto snapping is okay. In many situations, you are just going to use auto snapping. 2D, 3D, there's very little difference, only if you're working maybe in orthographic views, but mainly you can use it on auto snapping. So let's enable vertex snap. And the only thing I need to do now is use this and snap it right here to this vertice. Or what you can do is also you can use polygon snap just to show you something. So you'll see here that it will snap to this polygon intersection. So this is, for example, how polygon snap would work. And so now whatever you move it, it's going to snap. You can also combine it with the vertex snap, and that just simply means that it will snap then to this vertice. And then what we can do is enable either spline snap, so we can also demonstrate that. Go to our cube, go to our points, and I'm going to select one point with a rectangle selection like this, and it will now here snap to the spline. Again, the same thing, you can use it in combination of vertex snap and simply snap it to the points like this. And here the same, here, and just continue all around. So for example, if you want to have, let's say, more precise cutout here using splines, this would be the way to do it. And then the only thing you need to do is just remove the spline, and there you go. So this is basically how this would be done. So yeah, more or less, I think this is it as for the short introduction into snapping tools. And I think this is just enough to get us again comfortable enough to know what the tools are, how do they behave, and what do they do, and how to use them just in general. And then later, once we have more practical examples, and maybe even if we encounter complex shapes, we can then maybe explore some other variations. But in essence, basically, this is what they do, this is where they are, and yeah, I think that is all for now. So thank you very much for watching, and let's continue with the next video.